Mr. Arthur Cunningham, who's here with his book on wine and cheese. Welcome to the show. Very, very nice to have you. Well-matched cheese and wine. It can make or break a gastro experience. Cheesemonger and wine merchant Arthur Cunningham felt so passionately about getting the pairings correct, he published or self-published the Cheesemonger's Tales. It is how many stories?
12 stories about 12 cheeses. 12 of my favourites, I guess.
And name it, please.
The Cheesemonger's Tales.
And that's what you are.
I was a cheesemonger, yep.
How long were you a cheesemonger for?
About 12, 15 years, something like that.
But you shouldn't have been, really, because your dad worked with Hungarian film director Korda,
yeah.
And your ma was an actor. And were you meant to be going into that industry?
Well, I don't know about meant to. I was quite attracted to it. I saw myself as the new David Lean.
And what happened?
I don't think I really had the commitment for it, I don't think.
But you do
no regrets, though, because I've had a wonderful life in cheese and wine. So.
But how did you get into cheese?
Cheese, I started off having to lay on a big dinner for a French wine producer. And I went to set up the dinner, and they told me they only had British cheeses, and I was a bit nervous about that, having this Frenchman to dinner. But I was knocked out by them. They were absolutely fantastic. So I thought, well, I've got to learn a bit more about this. And so I did.
And then you opened up a fantastic shop where?
Well, eventually I came to own Paxton and Whitfield in Jermyn Street.
Which is very posh.
Which is 200 years old, yes.
Which is lovely. Yeah. And some of your customers were?
Oh, all sorts of people. I mean, going back to the war, we had General de Gaulle as a customer. We've had royal warrants since Queen Victoria. So, yeah.
Isn't that lovely? Well, we're very privileged to have you on the show. We wish you well with your book.
Thank you.
Publishing it yourself. And now you've chosen, out of the 12 stories, 4. Yeah. Why have we chosen these?
They're sort of representative of different styles of cheese and different styles of wine.
OK, let's go with number 1 then.
OK. Number 1, we've got Golden Cross cheese, which is made down in Sussex by Kevin and Alison Blunt. They started up about 10 years ago on a little small holding, and they built everything themselves, even their house. They started off living in a caravan, built the house, built the dairy, built everything.
Goat's cheese.
Goat's cheese,
I think we've got a lovely picture of their goats there. They were. So you go and visit all these places, dear. This is delicious, isn't it? How would you describe this cheese?
Well, it's got a lovely sort of velvety texture, typical sort of goaty flavour, which some people, to be fair, don't like, but I'm absolutely passionate about goat's cheese. I think they produce lovely, steely, clean flavours, not quite so cloying or fatty as cow's milk.
And how did you get to find out about this lot?
I think somebody told me, to be honest. It's quite a while ago now. But
and then somebody comes in and says, we've found these cheesemakers, then you follow it. And
or you speak to other people in the trade and they say, have you tasted this cheese? You read something. Then it's a question of going and seeing them, learning about who they are, what they're trying to do, what they're producing.
And well, this is delicious. What have you chosen? What wine have we got to have with it?
Well, I've chosen a Puy Fumé from Domaine Michel Red, who I've known for a very, very long time. Produces fantastic Sauvignon wines, which are a classic match for goat's cheeses. Sauvignon and goat's cheeses.
And where is he?
He's in the Loire Valley in France.
OK, there he is. Lovely.
Right.
Yeah?
He's got a fantastic vineyard there, and one of his real skills is blending the grapes from the different parts of the vineyard, because quite often I can find Puy Fumé can be a little bit aggressive, a little bit too gooseberry, too acidic. He's got different parcels of vines, and by blending the grapes from the different areas, he produces an extremely well-balanced wine.
Oh, that's lovely. Indeed, this is a lovely, well-balanced combo. So let's go to number 2, sir. And the chisel here is?
The chisel here is Berkswell, which is a cheese made just outside, well, between Birmingham and Coventry, which doesn't sound very romantic, but actually where it is the most glorious countryside. And Stephen Fletcher and his mother Sheila and cheesemaker Linda Dutch make this cheese there. They've been making it since, I think, about 1989, and it's now an absolute champion. I think it's a wonderful cheese.
It's salty, and it's crunchy.
Yep, quite nutty.
Nutty.
Yep.
And you'd cook with it?
Yes, but I think it's almost too good to cook with, to be honest.
But Welsh rarebit.
Oh, yes, it would be good.
Big Welsh rarebit, fantastic.
It would be good.
So what have we got with this one?
We've got a 20-year-old Tawny port, which is very much lighter than the more traditional vintage port. Tawny ports are aged in wooden casks, so they end up being lighter, which I think actually is very suitable for today's sort of cooking.
Well, it's brilliant, and it tastes like toffee to me. I love this tawny port. But when you add the cheese to it, you suddenly get this wonderful kind of salty, cheesy.
They work really well. I think the flavours of the two combine absolutely perfectly, making both better than they are by themselves.
Tell us about the producers of the wine.
This is Fonseca, made by David Guimarães, but it was really his father who I knew, who was a tremendous man called Bruce. Much larger than life, absolutely enormous man in all sorts of ways. Great conversationalist, great fun. I remember the first time I met him, he said, "Arthur," he said, "you've come here to learn about how to make port." He said, "The thing you've got to remember is you've got to have good beer to make good port." And I thought, what's he on about? And it took me a few minutes to realise that he was talking about drinking the port, and he wasn't going to put it in the... drinking the beer, rather.
Right, not putting it...
Yeah, drinking the beer.
OK, number three. Number three, the cheese.
Number 3 is Vacherin de Mont d'Or, which is a seasonal cheese. It's only made in the winter months in the Jura Mountains of just north of Geneva. And it's a lovely, soft, gooey cheese. It's made by the same dairies that make Comté in the summer, but in the winter they don't have enough milk.
It's got to be hot in the oven with your crudités, which is fantastic.
That's great.
And tell us the vino.
The vino is Chateau Chalon, which is a wine produced in the region. Quite often you find that wines of the region go with the cheeses of the region. And this is very sort of sherry-like, because it's, as it's made, a yeast grows on the surface of the wine, and they're not allowed to fill the barrels up. Normally, as wine's maturing, some evaporates and they keep topping up the barrels. With this one, they're actually forbidden to top up the barrels, so it gets an oxidisation of the wine as well. And, I mean, you could mistake it for a sherry, really.
You can, and there you see it. It is, it's aged in... Oh, no, look at that. This is lovely. So that's where it was.
Oh, Chateau Chalon's the most delightful 12th century village. They had a Benedictine monastery there. It's absolutely unspoiled.
And that's this, and that's the one we've just tasted.
That's the one we just tasted.
And finally, sir, go for this last one. My favourite, I think.
The last one is cheddar from Jamie Montgomery's farm down just outside Yeovil. It's a lovely traditional cheddar, much drier in texture than most of the sort of vacuum-packed cheddars. This one's really got lots of flavour, lovely. But cheese.
Mild and subtle, and I like it when it burns you. This doesn't, but it's got the same punch.
Yeah,
delicious.
It has a great depth of flavour.
Yeah, indeed. What's this one?
That's Chateau Lagarde from Bordeaux, from the Pessac-Léognan region of Bordeaux, where the vineyards actually encroach on the city. And it's amazing that they're actually worth more as vineyards, agricultural land worth more than land for buildings, because they produce such fantastic wines.
The pepper brings out the cheese.
It does.
You are clever.
They match well, don't they?
You are clever. You are clever. We wish you so well with your book. And he wrote the book because people kept saying your stories are great, write the book. And you did.
Absolutely.
Well done.
And people are enjoying reading it now.
They are. In fact, this is marvellous to have in bed with you, taking it home.